Hey folks, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? Um, um, so this is part two of some of the thoughts I'm talking about here with um, martial arts and Eastern thought. Um, so let's get into some other stuff here. We talked in the first part about um, just the combat, some of the stuff about um, how dangerous a fighter is, and that whole thing, and why you know MMA is that's basically what MMA is about, and as well as military, that sort of thing, and how it's connected, but a whole different deal than the knowledge side of martial arts. It's connected, but understanding that difference will put to rest a lot of the. I think understanding that difference better will put to rest a lot of the um, things going on in the martial arts world that are not as friendly. We'll say. Um, yeah. You know, well, I'll get to this subject a bit later, I suppose. But um, regarding, again, getting into a lot of the stuff that a lot of older folks know from Asia that are either martial arts senseis or the equivalent, or not. They're just, they maybe are very intelligent and wise and things. One of the other things has to do with something that Bruce Lee mentioned, that martial arts, when the goal of martial arts is to butchers his comment, but it's to express oneself um, to truly express oneself. This is interesting because when one expresses oneself, say music, art, so many ways we express ourselves in our thoughts and our feelings and our personalities and things. When we express ourselves, how often do we truly express ourselves, a true emotion that we feel, or a true aspect of our personality? How often does that happen? And how often are we just mimicking or copying others, or something kind of true, or something? How often do we hold back? How often are we afraid or anxious about expressing something truly inside ourselves? See, that's what Bruce Lee was getting at. That's what he was getting at. If you really think about it, so it has something to do with, just follow me for a sec here. It has something to do with, and I believe me, when I think about this deeply enough, it can be frightening, but also very liberating. It has something so much to do with what so many other people are talking about, including kind of a funny guy. I've been watching his stuff. He has red hair and he's a comedian type. I can't remember his name. Darn it! Oh, it'll come back to me in a bit. Okay, but comedians deal with some level of this on some level, depending on the type of comedian. But um, talking about accurately of truly expressing yourself, truly expressing oneself, and how often do we do it, and what actually is involved? How do we know we're truly expressing ourselves? So if I write a composition, if I write a composition, um, there's so many different things I can write. I know how to write so many different type. I have the knowledge, right? I know how to write different kinds of pieces and different kinds of moods and things. So when I'm writing something, and it's coming from my heart, the fear is when somebody says it's no good, it sucks. It's not. I don't fear someone misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. That's just a little bit vexing and frustrating. The real fear is it just stinks. Because when someone says that in a very mean way or direct way, they are essentially saying that I stink. I am no good. Me personally. And people say all the time, oh, don't take it personally. In a way, with performers and music, it's a very common thing, this whole thing. You're not very good. I'm not very good. This, what, and people say, don't take that personally. It's a similar train of thought. Even though, in my opinion, when it comes to composition, it can potentially hurt much more, but it still hurts either way. When you perform, you're still performing from your heart. You're putting your full energies into something, or if you're not, well, But we'll just assume that a lot of musicians that are serious about their instruments are doing their best when they're playing something, and so it really is hurtful when you hear, "Oh, that's not very good," and it hurts more when you're younger. And it's wrong. It's wrong to say that, but there's a place for it. But it's this give and take thing where the older teachers tend to do a little better at knowing when to say certain things and how to say things. And when you're younger, it's harder. It's harder for everyone. Yeah, it's a very nuanced thing in a way. We're familiar with the very demanding teachers that can, really hurt a student's feelings for sure. We know about that whole thing and how that's so common when it comes to music lessons, for instance, that are a lot more involved and serious and that sort of thing. Well, often more elite students and often more elite instructors in a way. But yeah, I mean, like, whenever you express yourself honestly, there's the fear of being rejected. There's the fear of being put down in the arts and other things, writing and whatever, all kinds of stuff like that. There's this socialization when you're socializing. There's a fear of being rejected. There's a fear of being put down. So let's get back to martial arts here in a sec. Bruce Lee was talking about martial arts and its purpose. It's honestly expressing. It's honest. He used the word honest. I'm sorry. Martial arts is just honestly expressing yourself, honestly expressing oneself. So when you punch, how can you? There's this idea that if you are honestly expressing yourself, you're going to punch a heck of a lot harder, and you're going to be, whatever it is that you're doing, a kick, whatever it is, whatever movement you're making, if it's a block or something, it's going to be a lot more effective if you're honestly expressing yourself. So what does that again? What does that mean? Because there's a lot of meanings to this. This is multiple layered thing here. You could be angry, but is anger, there's an honesty behind anger, but there's also kind of a blindness to it. There's a distortion. You're angry because of someone else, some external force often. And if you're just angry because of other things that are just inside you, okay, there's an honesty to it. Sure. But is it the most honest thing that someone can express? Is it truly what is inside of someone? Is anger? Anger is often something that comes it's not the first thing that we feel when when we're little guys, when we're born. Anger is something that we feel at some point in life a little later, even if it's irritation or something at age of 2 or the gimmies and that sort of thing. It's never when we're newborn, and certainly not the kind of anger that would make you want to hurt someone. That comes a bit later, somewhat. The consciousness of that, but there are more honest emotions like fearlessness, courage, sort of thing. Also, directness, just cutting right to the chase of something. Also, um, bodily movement, I should say, that's meant to be also aesthetically pleasing to look at. So it's not sort of thing we think of often. We think of the brutality of martial arts, but if you're honestly expressing yourself and you're a really good dancer, or you're very graceful, or you're very fluid in your motions, or it's enjoyable for other people to see your motions, whatever, whether it's martial arts related or it's dancing, you're honestly expressing yourself when you are doing better at that aspect of movement, which is you are trying to bring joy and pleasure to others via dancing. And so it's more of an art. But there's other moods. We don't think of sadness so much. That's very honest. But that's a tough one. And fear, sadness, and fear. Are they? Yeah, they're very honest. I guess it's just like how can I put this? There really are physical motions or movements for that might reflect every emotion possible. And this also gets really Eastern in a way. The chakras and things. There's some things I won't mention, of course, in this regard, but we'll just say it this way. If you love a woman, right, without getting distasteful, to show that devotion to a woman, if you're fighting, there's something. If you're seeing like someone that's fighting for a woman, the honor of a woman, sort of thing, right? Yeah, you'll there are times when you can see in a movie, or especially in real life, you'll see the sincerity of someone's love for a person. If they're fighting to protect her, they're fighting also not to totally destroy someone or kill someone, depending on the situation, right? There's some honor involved. Yeah, that can be a very moving experience, especially when the person that's fighting a person tries not to truly hurt the person. Just saying, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think you guys probably know what I'm trying to say. But it has to do with and if you really think about being your true self when you're talking to someone, just socializing. How often do we do that? I only do that when I'm talking with my family and with very close friends. I have to know them really well, or I have to feel very, very comfortable with someone and the more comfortable I feel around a person, the more I will be my true self. Really. So much of the time, we're not our true selves. We just aren't. And there's all kinds of reasons why. And that's a big area in life that, and Bruce Lee's talking about this. So if you need to, fighting, I suppose, is always going to, on some level, a little bit aggressive, or it's, confrontational. But, if you're talking about just making a statement that's very bold, just, that punch, that direct punch, how direct can you be? Or if you were speaking from the heart and you're being as direct as you possibly could be, it can really make a huge statement. You don't have to yell. If you mean 100% of what you're saying, it's going to strike like a freaking fist that's like, it's going to, it's gonna hit someone in the heart so hard that, in a way that they might have trouble breathing. That's kind of the, there's an analogy, I think, this is a similarity there. Okay, so I think I've made my point here. That when you're not truly expressing yourself, or just some small part of you, or whatever, it's going to be lackluster martial arts. And so much of the time it's fear, and it's okay. Oh, I'm trying to be polite, or oh, I don't want, it's okay. No, Bruce Lee is saying, express yourself. Boom. Be honest about it. Boom. Right. In a way, because whether it's martial arts or dance or some physical movement he's talking about, there's so many ways to express yourself, even physically that way. There really are. In a way, martial arts is not just involving how good of a fighter you are, but how much can you show of your inner self in an external sense, outwardly. So it's an art. It's an art. It's not it can be a science if you want to make it a science, but it's also an art. It's the art of it is I think the side of it that we'll just say can be very appealing, but more to our higher natures. That's the best way. The higher, the more celestial, the heavenly part of us is interested in that. When martial arts become less about destroying or hurting someone, and more about truly expressing yourself and allowing the other person to express themselves, it just becomes something different. It's a more celestial way of looking at martial arts. And so Bruce Lee talked about, when someone moves forward, the striking, I move back, or I let them take that space, and when I strike, they move back. And this kind of give and take thing. We're talking about two different fighters that are similar, basically the same fighting ability, same size, same strength, or comparable, same conditioning. It's a fair fight, And then at that point, you want to honestly express yourself, and your goal is not to hurt the other person. Your goal becomes something different. It does become spiritual. I can kind of see where that starts to become the case, but in a way, I know that you have to actually be practicing martial arts, actually, sparring, but not full contact. Full contact, yeah. You hurt yourself very easily with full contact. You spar with someone that's your ability level. You spar with a level of intensity that you're both comfortable with. Again, similar size, similar strength, similar skill level. And I can see where you get to a point where it becomes like a dance, but in a martial way. It's a fighting. You're still fighting, but and then there's often no clear winner or loser. You just learn things. You learn things you can't really explain or express. And I've only just barely started understanding this. And this is the sort of thing that is not really. It's not that it's not valued by MMA fighters. I think they know what we're talking about. But with MMA and with fighting, when you're actually having a winner or loser, and the conditioning, and who's just gonna who's just came up on top, out on top. It's the who's the more dangerous fighter. It is not as celestial. It is more of a telestial thing. And when I'm using these terms, celestial is heavenly, terrestrial is kind of pretty good, but telestial is kind of fallen. It's evil, but not as evil as some other things I want to get into. But this is kind of religious anyway. But it's not unforgivable. Telestial though is still kind of fallen. But we enjoy fighting, you know. And there's so many different ways of looking at fighting. You don't feel like you're a sinner for watching a fight necessarily, but there's always that side to it, right? Yeah. Okay. So what else am I going to talk about? Because I have some more time here. Because there's so many different areas of knowledge that these folks say. I'm focusing on Asia, I know, and in India, and I know I'm kind of leaving out Africa and Europe and Latin America and stuff like that, and Polynesia, but Asian thought. Well, like not overeating. Your body only needs so much food, to, depending on your energy level, depending on your age, depending on all kinds of stuff. So not overeating, being disciplined, making good use of your time. They're all things that you can always associate with martial arts. I mean, when you take good care of your body, you're getting enough sleep, you're eating well, you're eating right. You're not eating too much, especially not too much of the wrong things, but you're just not eating too much. Only enough that for your body, only enough that you're only eating enough for your body, what it needs. Um, your whole mental approach to sparring, to training, and the discipline, and the work ethic, and the ongoing, the what's going on in your mind, the inner voices. What happens when you get hurt? If you're trying to get to higher pain thresholds, how do you do that? How do you become more conditioned? It's not easy, right? And sometimes you do get hurt, but it happens. You always try to be careful, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you tougher, I guess, but there's a lot of things that go through someone's mind when they're doing martial arts, and it's hard to know what those things will be until you're thinking of them. But whether it was martial arts or it was cross country when I was in high school, let me just tell you a little bit about some of the stuff that I thought about. Was going through my mind with these long cross country runs. Well, the first one was, can I stop and walk? Good. But a lot of times it was just like, man, I could really go for, well, fuel food after we're done. I'm so hungry, right? Not necessarily steak, but sometimes steak, or like chicken or something. But sometimes it was like I started thinking about people I knew, and because of these long runs, it's almost like meditative. Your just legs keep going. I was thinking about, did I get enough sleep last night? I was thinking about like bullies and stuff. Or I was thinking about Europe or something. Right? There's all these thoughts that go into your mind, and when you're training in martial arts, so much of what you're thinking about it's more focused oftentimes. There's less of a tendency for your mind to wander, I suppose, because cross country running is in a way mentally more like you're meditating in a way. But yeah, when I was doing martial arts, it was there's a lot to martial arts that has to do with your ability to be physically balanced, and there's always that connection with being emotionally, spiritually balanced. I often wondered if people were looking at me like I was out of shape, so I felt a little bit self-conscious. Sure. But after a while, I didn't get that impression so much. But there's the boy. This guy's pretty tough looking, or this guy's a little stinky, right? And also it's like, I'm so tired, right? That was the same thing as crossing. I'm so tired right now, but I have to keep going, right? I'm almost there. I'm almost there. You know, it's a huge. It's so underrated. The self-talk thing. What's going through your mind when you're doing this stuff? You know, anything like that. And when you're watching a martial arts movie, you're sitting on the couch and you're relaxing. You're in a relaxed state. So you're allowed to think about all kinds of stuff. And sometimes if you've seen like Karate Kid so many times, you can't even think about how many times you've seen it, but you just like watching it over and over again, right? So your mind isn't always so riveted on what's happening. But if you're to think about, you know, when you're more immersed in movies, you think about that one thought enters your mind when when a scene in a movie is more believable, I suppose you could say. Man, you know, when Daniel was running away from Johnny Lawrence and those guys, he was having trouble climbing the fence and they caught him. At that moment, what was crossing his mind? I'm gonna get hurt or maybe even killed. You know, it was panic mode. Panic mode. And the music is, you know, it was intense. He couldn't breathe. He was, whatever he was trying, his body was giving up. He was exhausted. And those guys were bigger than he was. And they were in better condition than he was. And they were ready to go at him. And there were more of them. So all Daniel was, it was just like, just fighting for his last. I mean, he was just doing everything he possibly physically could, you know. And so he wasn't thinking about, you know, his favorite video game or his favorite bike or his favorite, or he wasn't thinking about Ali. He wasn't thinking about anything except for survival. And I wonder, in watching Karate Kid, are we really in that same mindset that Daniel was at that point? So there's mindsets, there's experiences that we have that can really help shape our character that we're not always fully aware of. Hard things we've been through. And this is also something that these older guys, not just Asian, but certainly including Asians, senseis and things, they understand. They understand. Sure. And the wiser they are, the better they understand them. And they know that, you know, those situations, there's so many situations that test us. Not just, you know, so many different kinds of situations. Hard things that we go through that test us. Test our mettle, test our character. And things that we can't even comprehend. And when you become a better person, and when you become more disciplined, and when you're in a better condition mentally and physically, you can handle things better. Just everything goes a little bit better. And that's a lot of what martial arts is really about. But there's so many other things that it is about. But that's the train of thought. And I knew that it was because the body is connected to the soul here, the spirit, spirit and the body, you know, together make the soul, and so the body is a really important part of our life, and yeah, so studying martial arts is also, in a way, on some level, it's going to involve taking better care of our bodies. You would think that it might be the opposite, it would be hurting your body. But, you know, you can get hurt, but you can often heal. You generally can heal. But when you strike something really hard, your bones get harder. They don't break. You don't do that. You don't, you know, you want to avoid certain things, sure. but your bones do get stronger when you hit them, and your muscles do get stronger when you work out and you lift and stuff. And there's probably a lot of things I'm not still getting to in this video, I'm sure, but it feels good actually saying these things. These are things that I understand, but I don't understand them as well as, not as well as, guys that have gone through this stuff a lot more pain and more precise mental and physical kinds of things going on, discipline. So you can talk about martial arts again from just who's a more dangerous fighter. You also talk about martial arts with all the other things that it does involve both things at some level, but it's that knowledge that is the most valuable stuff to gain, because none of us are going to be young forever, right? We're going to die. We're going to take our knowledge with us after we die, that sort of thing. These are also things that folks in Asia understood. All right, leave your thoughts and comments below. Catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.